Hello, and welcome yet again for another total Warcast. I'm your host Daily, reporting almost live from Snowy Tops, Norway, and this is episode 5 of season 3. January is almost at an end. Well, it is at an end when you listen to this, but at this current date, it's the 30th of January. So we're still in January, which is nice. It's still like at the beginning of the year. We haven't started yet fully on the year. Gunny again is joining me.
Indeed.
Being absent from the glorious interview with Darth Vader, which didn't mind. Me and him had a great time, and yes, as you might have heard, if you haven't, check it out. It should be on YouTube right below this one. But today we have a lot on the show. First, Gunny, you want to knock it off with the first thing on the...
Indeed. Silver Shield 18th edition has been released. It has plenty of nice little articles in it, including Adamit's RPG interview, in which he goes in and he interviews or talks about some of the various RPGs, like the Game of Thrones RPG and the Lord of the Rings RPG and stuff like that. And also Diamat's Total War Center believes and his bits of the churches of the Total War Center, which is rather interesting.
Yeah, it's like all the religion-based stuff on TWC, which is a lot, because people, since maybe, I think they don't believe like in real life, so they basically make their own religion which suits them a little bit better. For example, Shumism, and the Avian... The Church of what's the Church of that called again? It's a Church of the Church of
the
Lemon
Avian
Cat.
Alliance.
The Avian Alliance, and then you have the Lemon Cat religion. Is like, okay.
Personally, I'm a believer in the Church of Kong, but
yeah, the Church of Kong.
Church of Kong.
Well, I'm an atheist, so I don't believe in anything. Well, I believe if I die in battle, I come to Valhalla, but that's not a religion, so that's just true. So that's something else. Also, we have a webcomic, the first part ever, made by Waterholm, as I've understood it. It's called A Murder in the Colosseum, which he uses pictures, very well made, by the way, very, very well made. And it's a webcomic, comprised of pictures, and it's gonna show a story. So check out the first part of it. It's I have no idea what's going on, but
it's hilarious. Actually.
Yeah, it is. But you have to. I think you need to know some of the people, maybe. But you have, of course, if you keep on watching it, you will get a better understanding of it. So check it out in the next Silver Shield. And of course, the last one by Son of Peveril is the best edition in my part is the interview with Partian Shot, the mother, which is very nice. Yeah. So that was the Silver Shield 18th edition. Check it out. If not, I'm gonna hunt you down. And Gunny will hold you while I pummel your stomach, which is not gonna be pleasant. Yes. Next up on the list is Leonidas the Lion's Let's Plays. He has started a new series of Mass Effect, a marathon. I'm gonna provide a link to his channel. Check it out. He is part of our little drive to provide content for you, and he's like the not TWC related games, so he makes Let's Plays, and he has chosen Mass Effect, so check it out. It's actually quite good, even though he doesn't have aim for anything. No offense. But compared to me, you have nothing. I'm joking, but yeah, haha. Check it out at least. You want to take the next one?
Yep. Now, next on the list is the Vault staff is doing quite a bit of hiring now. They basically what they do is they go around the site and find every mod that's larger than 100 megabytes, or sometimes smaller for updates and patches and stuff like that, and they download it or track a working download and make sure and just get it onto TWC's archive and store it for posterity, just in case something happens. It's a service provided by the site, and it's looking for people to help do that.
Yeah, it's basically you can almost compare it to the wiki in terms of work, because you have to catalog everything, you have to test it, but like you're basically a librarian of sorts, because you have to gather everything up. So it's actually quite important work. I think this is one of the greatest drives. I remember Ged talking about it before he did it back a couple of, a half year, more than that, a year ago, I think. Yeah, a year ago. And I believe that this is probably one of the greatest things to do, because what happens is that the free hosting sites, they get shut down. For example, image upload. No, not image. What's
Mega Upload.
Mega Upload got shut down.
I personally lost some files when that happened.
Exactly. So the point was that when that happened, if that happens again, we will now have backups of it. This is not a downloading portal because it doesn't have that kind of capacity. So you will still be, but it's a backup. So mod leaders can get their files back and they can upload it to a free hosting site or pay. I don't know what they use, or just make a torrent of it, peer to peer. It works beautiful as well. Well, yeah, actually that's it. So they're hiring. So I will provide a link, and you can go in there and say that if you're interested. I think it is a lot of work, but I think you can decide how much you want to do. At least, well, you have to do something, but you can decide if you want to do a lot or just now and then. I think, yeah.
And in other hiring news, the Gamers Gazette is also hiring. If you're not familiar with that, it's just sort of the written publication about all sorts of different games, not limited to the Total War games like a lot of the other publications are.
Yeah, so it's reviews and in general gaming articles, and I'm in it. So if you want to join me in glory, check out the Gamers Gazette.
It's run by Confederate Jeb, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, I will leave a link to him, so send him a message if you're interested. Now, what is now, Gunny?
Now we have our very special guest for our mod corner. Please welcome Steph.
Welcome, Steph.
Hello, thanks for asking me to be part in this interview.
Steph is the mod leader, the creator of the Napoleon Total War mod, Masters of Europe.
Yes. So we are going to do an interview here, and Gunny, do you want to take the first question?
I suppose so. Now, Steph, in general, did your interest in modding go beyond the Total War games at all? Like, do you mod anything else?
I modded. Actually, I started a lot younger with a role-playing game. My idea was to write new set of rules and new universe, but it was just a pen and paper role-playing game. And then later I modded a little Call to Power, and then a lot Civilization 3. I made a completely new editor for the game and tried to introduce some new concepts, like a kind of expanding gameplay, where you could use the save game and modify them to add new features in the game that were not possible with a simple engine. But as I liked animation skills, I couldn't really finish this. I could only make the main game, but a lot of new civilization and units were missing, so it wasn't really complete.
It's interesting though. So that's how you got involved in, actually going in and modding stuff in the first place.
It was more with database editing and trying to find gameplay than actual animations.
That's actually pretty cool. So you started out. How long have you been modding? How many years?
Civilization almost from the beginning. It was perhaps 10 years ago.
How old are you? Sorry for asking, but
I just turned 39.
Okay, so well, you're an old timer compared to me then. So that's actually pretty cool. So you've been in modder for many years, way before I even started playing on a PC. So that's actually pretty cool. So you've seen kind of the transition where modding has been less and less more apparent. But specific now to the Total War series, before you and your combined efforts with Leagle, there was Vive l'Empereur. What, in your opinion, was to drive you to begin Vive l'Empereur? Am I saying that correctly, or?
It's Vive l'Empereur.
Vive l'Empereur.
Yeah. When I started playing Napoleon Total War, it was with an unmodded game, and then I discovered Total War Center, and I found some mods that was interesting. I played first with Bart mods. It was interesting with new uniforms for each factions, but I wanted to do something similar, but with something more structured. Bart was nice, but it was with different uniforms there, but another part they were missing, so I wanted to have something more organized.
Yeah, so you started your own mod.
Yes, with Bart as a good inspiration at first.
And now, for anybody who does not know, what were some of the main features of this first mod, and what do you think really made it distinct from some of the other mods that were around for Napoleon?
My main idea was to have a complete historical roster for each faction and try to have some immersion, like using the names of units in the local language, introduce allied troops with recruitment specifics to some regions. But I was quickly limited. With no skills to make new uniform, I just made basic color variation of the uniforms and no campaign editing at the time.
Well, now that Viva the Emperor was certainly an ambition project for a single person to undertake, were there any other individuals that assisted you on its development?
Not really. I got some help from tutorials and also from question and answers in the workshop to know how to make basic mod. I also get some advice about scripting, but not that much. The help comes later with Master of Europe's.
Yeah.
And for anybody who's listening who doesn't know, what exactly does Masters of Europe do? You know, what features does your modification provide?
I'd say that the key points are immersion, diversity, and historical compliance. So we want each faction to feel somewhat unique with its own uniforms, correct army list, the names of the cities, name of buildings, of units. Also, icons for the building are specific to the factions. Also, since allies were very important at the time, we want to emphasize this, and so we have an extensive area of recruitment system. Each allied unit is speaking in its own language. I believe we are the only mod with this feature. We also wanted to represent to some extent the evolution of the uniforms at the time. So in the vanilla game, the Prussian starts with a shako, or the French have lancers immediately at the beginning of the campaign in 1805. Actually, they got them only in 1811. So we made several periods for the uniforms, up to 3 for the major factions. You can select that in a land battle, and they will become available during the campaign. And I think this is also unique. I don't think there is any other mod with 3 periods for the uniforms in the land battles. And to support all these new uniforms, I have edited many meshes from CA and many textures to try to get as close as possible to the historical uniform. And last, I think one of the trademark also of Master of Europe is we want to have a global quality, consistency for the whole mod. So for example, in Master of Europe's, all the icons have been made by hand to look nice, but also to have a similar look for every faction, and adding some information like the quality of the unit, the type of the unit, its nationality, all in the icon with a very consistent look and feel.
That's something I also noticed, was all the little icons that looked really good. It looked consistent, you could say. That was really nice. But out of all the features of Napoleon Masters of Europe, what is your particular favorite? Is any part of this mod that you're most proud of?
I think the local recruitment system is very interesting. With limitation of every units are limited in numbers, and they are also linked to the region. So it means that if you lose some region, then your army is significantly reduced. You have less manpower, so you cannot recruit such a large army. And it also gives a lot of importance to the allies in capturing region to be able to recruit new troops. So this, I think, is really nice. And you cannot, for instance, recruit French units if you try to capture Russia. You need to recruit local Cossacks. Also, the voices in national language. I think it's very nice when you play to actually be able to hear the soldiers speak in their language, including the allies. Like if you are Britain and you recruit the King German Legion, they would speak German. And this was a really massive work. Just as an example, in the voice configuration 5, I currently have more than 60,000 lines to define all the voices, and this is only for the 5 major factions and a few minors.
Very interesting. Now, with all these features that you've listed, and with Napoleon Masters of Europe currently in its beta stage of development, are there any other features that you plan on going more into for the future releases?
Yes, the beta was heavily focused on land battle. We wanted to be sure that everything was working right in the battle, that we had a process to add new units and new uniforms, keep it manageable because we have a lot of lines in the database, so we needed to be sure that everything was working right. So now we will work a lot more on the campaigns since we have most major faction ready. Prussia is the next, and it should be there in a few weeks. So after this, it will be focused mainly on the campaign. So we plan to have a new artificial intelligence for the campaign, and also add functions for support and conversions, like having a kind of agent that could spread the support for countries, a bit like it was done in the Peninsula campaign, but more generalized with more religions and factions. Some things are already there, like faction-specific portraits for general, and we'll probably add modified tech tree and, if we can, some additional scripts to give some interesting missions and effects in the game.
Well, that sounds actually pretty good, but being a merger of works between your own Vive l'Empereur and L'Aigle Imperial Eagle, are there any features of either mod which were cut from Napoleon Masters of Europe that you would like to see return?
Actually, not really. Both mods were very similar in concept. L'Aigle is really the artist, so he made new textures for the uniforms and a few changes in the database to support it. On the other hand, I'm more into spreadsheets and files, so we naturally complemented each other. With time, I learned how to make the texture myself and edit the meshes, although I still can't make a completely new one. But L'Aigle final touch is always there to make the difference. So we have very similar opinion about the gameplay. We both are perfectionists in the historical details. So we didn't really have to make much compromise. It was more a case of streamlining what we were doing. But it really was a case where the cooperation, it was 1 + 1 is a lot more than 2. Maybe the only thing I had to drop was, since we are making much more detailed and correct textures, it takes more time to do, and so the factions are released slowly. While with Vive l'Empereur I was going faster, but the quality was less. So I think we didn't really have to drop something.
Yeah, understandable. But something I've been wondering, is this a large team? Do you have a large modding team, or how many are you, and who is part of the team?
Really part of the team, we are 2. I do most of database edition, also the campaign, the start posts, historical research. We are working together with a lot of help from Prince of Esslings, and then all the voices, the icons we did ourselves, and with sometimes some really temporary help from some people who can help a bit with some textures or with some testings, some advice about scripts, but most of the mod is only the 2 of us.
Impressive. Now, in addition, Napoleon Total War is, as we both know, somewhat limited in modding. And though your excellent work has been done with Masters of Europe, are there any other features that you would like to include but can't because of the limited modding?
Of course, the biggest issue would be to be able to add regions. I think it's the dream of every modders. Have something to work with a map. So far it's not possible at all, so this is for me the biggest limitation. But beside this, we have a few others. I'd like to have more control on the voices. So I could extend the concept of local language to the ships and the campaign map, because I had to make some compromise to be able to have every unit speaks in its own language. It means that, unfortunately, for the campaign and for the ship, they are limited to English. So I'd like to have more control on that and to extend the system to all the voices. I'd also like to be able to add more religion. As I said, one of the things we want to add to the campaign is the possibility to have kind of support as it was done in Peninsula with anti-French and pro-French. and we'd like to have this for every faction, but unfortunately, there seems to be a kind of hard-coded limitation in the engine, and we cannot really add new agents to convert to the new religion. So it doesn't really work. We also would like to have more controls on the regiment list. With the current system, you can have names for the regiment, but it's a link to the faction. So it means that if you recruit ally, like if I am Britain and I want to recruit French unit in Normandy, they would have an English name and not a French name. So that would be nice if we could manage to find a way to do that. And also to be able to specify the drums music. So far we only have 5, and you cannot decide really what you want to do besides being Europeans or Ottomans. And last one is to be able to define the portraits of the future general. As it is now, it's purely random. So I think it's really a pity that you have the name of the generals with their stats, but you cannot assign an historical portrait to them.
Yeah, exactly. Pretty bad in my opinion. We should actually have that ability. But sadly, that's kind of the way it has gone the last few years with modding. But Napoleon, like on another subject, Napoleon Masters of Europe is again in the beta stage of its development cycle. It's an open beta, as I've understood. Was it always planned to be open when it became at least somewhat playable? If not, who was it that suggested that the mod's beta became open?
It was more or less decided from the start, but we waited to have France and Britain really playable in battles before we released anything. And then we also decided quite soon that we'll try to have a kind of modular approach to make it easier to update and expand. So the drawback, it's a little harder to install Master of Europe, but the benefits for us is if we want to add a new faction, it's possible to just add the new files for that, and you don't need to download again the whole mod. As we plan to have very detailed uniforms for all the faction, it means that each faction is something like perhaps 100 megabytes. So if we wanted to have all the factions every time it's only one install, it would be very huge. So this modular approach allows us to provide an open beta with only a few factions, and we know that we can expand it easily and we don't have to re-upload everything every time. So it's easier to have an open beta very early.
Now, with Napoleon Masters Europe being an open beta, what's some of the advantages of that? Having it your extensive mod being released to the public at such an early stage?
Actually, we don't really have that much testers for a long period. Some testers come, test, and then they go. So making the beta available helps to have some people find new bugs, and then maybe they leave and they come back later. Like we had a crash with Austria, and someone managed to find where it was, and also to get some suggestion. But I think for us, the most important things about having this open beta is to give us a sense of achievement. This is really good for the morale. It's hard to stay focused on such a large mod during months when we all have works and families, and being able to release regularly some updates and see people get interested in that, it helps to stay motivated.
So it's actually personal. What can you say? Advantages. A personal advantage of having a open beta is because of the feedback that you get, and that's probably
motivation. Really, motivation is really important.
Yeah, exactly. So that's pretty cool. Conversely, do you feel that there's any disadvantages to having, the mod for open beta this early?
The main one, I think, it's to have to explain again and again how to install to the newcomers, because as it's an open beta, we don't have really a launcher. It's something that we expand regularly with new updates and new factions, so it's a little harder to install than other mods, and so we have to explain regularly how to do that. And also something that I think is a little annoying is people coming and we have to explain to them that we actually spend a lot of time designing the unit rosters. We have some users who come, they have only a few posts and they say, hey, look, I read something in the book once, a long time ago, and your unit size are completely off. You should do as I say. And then you have to again explain why you had this design choice and where they come from, and that it is the right solution for us.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Now, with Napoleon Total War being the game that you're sort of specially tailored towards, are there any other games in the Total War series that you would like to or would like to begin modding?
I played the first Shogun, then I played Medieval, Rome and Medieval 2. I skip Empire because I really couldn't accept that the map with France was only 2 regions. It was a game breaker for me. So I was very happy when Napoleon came out because I am a big fan of this era. I have many books and reference, and actually before making the uniform on my computers on Napoleon, I painted them on small figurines. So for me, I like the variety of uniforms from one faction to another, and even within the same faction. I've skipped Shogun 2 since I think it lacks diversity. Even if you can play a different faction, they are basically the same with different colors. So I think it was too uniforms and not enough diversity in the game. I will probably play Rome 2, but I don't think I will mod it because it's not really my period of expertise. My dream would be Empire on Napoleon 2 with better modding support, so like what they are starting to do with Shogun 2. I hope that with Rome they will make it even easier to use, and maybe in a few years they'll make kind of gunpowder era new Total War game that could work as well for Empire and Napoleon, where we can edit the map, and this I will definitely mod.
Interesting. All right, I look forward to possibly seeing what will come in the future as well, with hopefully an Empire and Napoleon 2 being super moddable and the like. But thank you very much for coming, and
My pleasure.
I look forward to Masters of Europe going and exiting the beta stage and going into full release.
Me too.
I hope so.
Cross the fingers.
But it's long. We need almost 1 or 2 months to make a new faction, and I think we still have 90 factions to do.
Wow.
Damn. Well.
Wow.
Best of luck, Steph. For those who don't know, you come to Norway, right, Steph?
Next week I will be in Norway on Sunday for 1 week.
Awesome. You hear that? The Frenchman is coming to Norway. That's great. Visiting my country. That's awesome. Other than that, it's actually quite enjoyable having you here, Steph. Thank you for joining us for this short little interview. Hope you've enjoyed yourself.
Yes.
Good. You might actually want to join us for when Masters of Europe eventually goes full release. Maybe
we have sometimes to plan then.
Yeah, you can join us in season 4. Yeah, so thank you for joining us, and you want to say goodbye?
Yes, so goodbye, and I hope that all the players who try Master of Europe find it's the best mod ever, and will never try to play something else.
So this is it for the Warcast this week. You have just been listening to Steph from the Masters of Europe mod, Napoleon mod on TWC. It's been really pleasurable having him on. He's a great guy, and he shows off his wisdom and age with his, with his little interview. Gunny, you happy?
Yes, I am.
Good.
It was a good interview.
It was. I'm happy we're doing all these kind of mod corners. I think it's really interesting, and plus that, hell, everybody loves us now. Maybe. No, they don't. No, I'm just imagining things. Well, should we just close it off then?
I think so.
Yes. Thank you all for listening. I'm Daily. This was Gunny. And we were the Total Warcast. See you next week.